Right, there's some breaking developments coming in. Today, the Prime Minister has interacted with students who returned from Ukraine. Now, this is the Prime Minister's interaction in Varanasi. That is the information coming in. Interacting with students who have returned. That is the picture coming in at the moment of the Prime Minister's interaction with students who have returned. Let's go across to my colleagues who are currently in Ukraine. We have with us Pradeep Datta. Also with us is Jonathan Gilbert. I'm going to come across to you first, Pradeep. The Prime Minister now interacting with several of those students who have returned. Still, there are several students who are in Ukraine. At the moment, you would have been speaking to several of them. What's the sense that you're getting as far as the situation on ground is concerned, and how many of them really are still trapped in Ukraine?
See, 80% of students have already left these places and they had been evacuated to safer places. What we have come to know from the sources that Indian diplomacy seems to have worked. The kind of a diplomatic shield that they had been able to provide to those students, it has been, in fact, given a sigh of relief to many of them. Short while back, I was interacting with some of the students who have come from Kharkiv. They said that they were inside the bunker for 6 days. For the last 2 days, they were not even having proper meals with them. But they are thankful to the Indian embassy and the Operation Ganga that has been launched, that they had been able to reach Lviv area, and from here they'll be moving towards Poland, because there are 3-4 points from where they can reach safer places. One is from the Romanian side, another is from the Hungary side, and the two of the points are from the Poland side, where from they can cross over to safer places, and therefrom they can boat flight and reach their respective homes. And already many of them were so relaxed, there was a smile on their faces. But it is a very tense situation, Madhav, here, because nobody knows what is going to happen next moment, because uncertainty is the only certainty here. And we have already seen what actually has happened in Kyiv. For the last 48 hours, there had been complete bombardment going on from the Russian side. Whatever ammunition they have in their arsenal, they are trying to use. Because on 24th of February, when they started rolling their tanks on the streets of Ukraine, they thought that it will be a matter of only 24 hours to 48 days. But till date, they had been, what has failed is that they had failed to break that wall of resistance from the Ukrainian side, because one feels like saluting their grit and determination.
And the spirit of the citizens of Ukraine, the spirit of the citizens of Ukraine is certainly something that everybody has been talking about. And I want to take that question across to Jonathan as well. Jonathan, you know, it is really something to see the manner in which citizens have come out. In fact, we've seen common citizens who've, you know, gotten those arms, and the government itself has provided them, and the manner in which they've been able to resist an army as mighty as the Russian army and actually halt their advance over the past week and a half or so is really something that nobody expected to play out in the manner in which it's actually happening on ground.
Yeah, that's right. I think military historians will be talking about this for many, many decades to come. It's perfectly clear now, I think, with the benefit of 8 or 9 days hindsight, that the Russians just weren't expecting the sheer passion and intensity of the resistance they felt. There are many, many factors due to this. Obviously, any people defending its own homeland will fight tooth and nail. They've also been supplied very generously by Western powers with some very significant anti-tank, anti-personnel and anti-aircraft military hardware, which, if you see the smoking hulks of Russian tanks dotted all over Kharkiv and in the road to Kiev, gives you an impression that it hasn't all been one-way traffic, let's be honest with this. But I mean, even just looking around me here, the humanitarian response as well has been absolutely tremendous. Those people who can't or are unwilling or unable to fight have still been coming out in their hundreds and thousands just to help the refugees here, handing out free food and drinks. Just over there's a huge fleet of free buses that have been laid on by some philanthropists in order to get these people to the absolute safety of the Polish border. So it sounds like a cliche, but yeah, I thoroughly concur that really this is a nation at its best, coming together against insurmountable odds.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, Pradeep, the larger questions, of course, are of what we are looking at in coming days. Now, the advance of the Russian military, the Russian tanks, we had seen that 64-kilometer long or 40-mile long convoy of Russian vehicles. Where is that at? What is the situation in Kiev at the moment? Can you just take our viewers through that?
See, I was talking to the people who had come from Kiev. They said that almost many of the buildings have been destroyed. What we had been discussing for the last 3-4 days is that though the Russians are maintaining that they're only targeting military installation, but if you look at the reality on the ground, it is not the military installation. The pictures on the ground narrate a different kind of a story. We have seen the civilian apartments have been targeted. They are firing short-range ballistic missiles. Throughout night, the sky was lit with the missiles and the bombs that had been fired from the Russian side. And also that beeline of tanks that is moving towards the Kiev. But what is in fact stopping them is what the resistance they are getting from the Ukrainian army, because that came as an element of surprise for the Russians too. They never had thought that the Ukrainian army is going to give them an element of surprise. It's going to stop them and halt their movement and create kind of a stumbling block for them, because they must have thought that within 24 to 48 hours they'll be able to attain that rule over the Kiev area, the capital city. And what is more important is that Zelensky, the way he is behaving, because he did not leave the city, unlike what really happened in Afghanistan when we saw the President Ghani leaving before the Taliban took over Afghanistan, and he fled in a helicopter along with the wealth. But here is the president who is standing with the army and who is always putting out those videos. That's also going to boost morale of the people there, morale of the soldiers there on the ground who have decided to fight till last breath, tooth and nail, and giving them a perfect reply. And I think that's a really commendable job they're doing. Let me show you here, Madhav. Okay. You can see here that how the locals are trying to what actually Jonathan was also talking about, how the locals have come together trying to help. And that's what's important thing is that when people are there to help each other, I think then God is also going to help them out. That's really helping. But otherwise it's very difficult to fight against such a mighty army which has got tanks, which has got ballistic missiles, which has got almost everything on the planet Earth which can destroy humanity. They have got everything with them. But yes,
Pradeep and Jonathan, please stay with us. Please stay with us. I'm going to request you to hold on to your thoughts for just a moment. You're reporting there live from Lviv 4 times now. But before we come back to you, let's take a quick look at what's happening as far as other news coming in on the story is concerned. Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh government are sending their government representatives of the state government, including MPs, to neighboring countries to bring back Indian students. Let's quickly take this across to Shilpa and Somit, who are also with us. Shilpa, very quickly, take us through who are these MPs and what really is the official reason being given by the DMK government in Tamil Nadu as to why they are sending their representatives when officially there are representatives of the government of India, diplomats, ministers, etc., who are there on ground sending back Indian students.
Well, Madhav, what saying at this point that a lot of students are stranded, especially in the eastern side of Ukraine, and that is the reason why they are now decided to send 3 MPs, MM Abdullah, Trichy Siva and Kalanidhi Veeraswamy, MLA TRB Raja, and along with 4 IAS officers to countries like Romania, Hungary, Poland and Slovakia to make sure that they can coordinate with the Indian embassies there for the evacuation of Tamil students who are stranded in Ukraine and in these neighboring countries. So that is the reason why Tamil Nadu government, of course, today Chief Minister M.K. Stalin held a review meeting about the status of evacuation of Tamil students stranded in Ukraine. And Tamil Nadu government has set up a 24/7 helpline, a control room, and over 3,000 calls have been made to this helpline so far, is what the government, of course, says. And out of the 2,000 students, the details of which the Tamil Nadu government has, only around 190 of them have returned to the state so far. So they want to speeden up the process of evacuation. They want to make sure that all possible help is extended to the students who are, of course, going through a very troublesome time, making it's extremely difficult, of course, for them to travel all the way to these neighboring countries. So that is the reason why the DMK has decided to send a delegation to these neighboring countries in Ukraine so as to facilitate their evacuation.
Quick word from Somit as well. Somit, take us through what is the official reason being given by Andhra Pradesh. Who are the people who would be representing the state in these neighboring countries?
Well, Madhav, we have seen several videos emerge from the Andhra Pradesh, and we have seen several fathers and parents coming out and requesting the government, and finally government, after seeing that few students returned, and after saying that few students are still in danger in Kharkiv and Kiev and few other conflict regions, the government has requested and wrote a letter to the MEA, and finally has decided to form a team, a task force team with 4 representatives who will be visiting Poland, Romania, Slovakia, and as well as Hungary, and will be assisting MEA to mainly evacuate Telugu students as well as who are stuck in the conflict zones, and also other students as well with them, and will be helping MEA, and also to ensure that their safety, because and tens and hundreds of students from Andhra Pradesh are studying in the Ukraine and also in the conflict zones. They're still stranded there. That is what we are hearing from the government, and they wanted to safely evacuate all the students as well as assist the MEA on this operation.
All right, Soumit, as well as Shilpa, I'd like to thank both of you for joining us. The last word's not yet out yet. What will the government of India, the Ministry of External Affairs, have to say on this? What would their response be is something that we'll have to watch out for. Thanks so much for joining us. And